Wow. um, Eagles Nation. It's been a while since we could say we saw our team get a win, but that's exactly what they did tonight. Thursday night football against the Giants, and hey, you know what? Not for nothing, but it is the color rush deal with the jerseys. I mean, I would have loved to see the Eagles bring out those Kelly Greens for this one. They got the black jerseys on, and actually, ironically enough, they beat the Giants in those jerseys last year at home. So maybe they should just wear those jerseys at home every year when they play the Giants. It seems to work. But 24-19 is the final. Crazy finish. Just lots of drama there towards the end. Giants are driving with the ball, and Eli though. Who's the team he struggles against the most? Come on, Giant fans, you know this. It is the Eagles. They have had his number throughout his career, and it continues tonight. The Eagles certainly set the tone early in this game, quite like the Giants did earlier in the season in the Meadowlands. The Eagles get off to a 14-0 lead. Then there's a bit of a lull, and then, as the Giants are creeping closer, Carson Wentz finds a. We had a Nelson Aguilar sighting. Nelson Aguilar with the touchdown, and then some field goals later, and here we are. The Eagles. Again. I mean, Doug. He's gonna. It's. There's a lot to learn from this season, and you know what? When you have a chance again with points to get on the board, and you go for the touchdown there. I know it's on the goal line, but 4th and goal, maybe you just take the points and push the game back up to an 8-point game at that point. But he doesn't. They miss it on the 4th down. Of course, the Giants stop him, stuff him at the goal line. And the thing that always, and I know, in that situation, look, Chase Daniels is in there. It's not like you're going to try to quarterback sneak with him. Eagles don't really have a true fullback, but I always find it funny how, and it's not just the Eagles, it's like any team. It's like you're on the goal line, and you run a play where you have to hand the ball off, and you're going like 2-3 yards back to try to get, the touchdown. I just never understood that, but, it is what it is. The Giants make a good play. I mean, Collins, he's had a tremendous season for them. He gets the stop, and the Giants, stop the Eagles at that point. But, the Eagles do survive this one. It's been a long time since we've tasted victory. Last time they won was at home against Atlanta. It seems like so long ago now. But, the thing I like about what they've done really in the month of December is they've been fighting. And, this is a team that's not going to be in the playoffs. We all know this. This is a team with a rookie quarterback, rookie head coach. At times it's been very maddening for us, watching. But I like how they've played the last, really now 3 games. I mean, they lost a tough one at home against Washington. They lose a tough one against the Ravens. And you know what? I know a lot of Eagle fans have been complaining about that and saying they should have gone for the extra point. I mean, like I said last week, and I'll stand by it, I'm glad they went for 2. You have to have a winner's mentality at some point. And you go for the easy extra point, and you get it, and you go to overtime. I mean, the Eagles have played 1 overtime game so far this season. They didn't see the ball in that overtime. It goes, Dallas, and they get all the way down the field. Of course, the Keystone Cops, the Eagles at the end, they're running into one another, and Jason Witten for the touchdown. I mean, a lot of things could have happened in that overtime. I mean, let's look at it this way. If the Eagles go to overtime last week and they lose, everyone's saying, why didn't they go for 2? So it's like one of those things where you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. And I'll stick behind it. I'm glad they went for 2. I mean, you go for the win right there. I mean, yeah, you didn't get it. It was a decent play call. I mean, yeah, maybe, Ryan Matthews could have been out there just for the threat of the run. I mean, the ball gets tipped by Terrell Suggs, and, you can kind of argue maybe there was some pass interference there at the, against, I believe it was Matthews. But the bottom line is they went for the win and they didn't get it. And then, if it goes to overtime, I mean, you can say, yeah, well, the Eagles get the ball first and they go down the field. How often do we see this team go down the field and score a touchdown? They're just not, they don't have a ton of weapons there. And, you're talking about if even if the Eagles get the ball first in that overtime and they don't get a touchdown and they don't get a field goal, they don't get any points, you're giving the Ravens the ball with one of the best kickers in the game who can kick from 60. So the game could be over right then and there. And there's a lot of ifs. I mean, the great thing about sports is there's a lot of things to debate. And, all week long, Eagle fans are debating, on Sports Talk Radio and on here on the social media, they're all debating that. Why did they go for 2? And some people like myself feel it was the right decision. Some people don't. You're entitled to your opinion. My opinion is you have to have a winner's mentality there. You know what? The season is I mean, for competitive reasons, it's over. You're not making the playoffs. No one expected them to win that game last week. You had a chance at the end in a better shot, to get a win in that part of the field than to try to drive all the way down into the win and get it in overtime. I don't disagree with it at all. I think it was a gutty move. It didn't pay off, but you know what? You have to have that winner's mentality, even in a losing season. You have to. This team. I mean, I know right now. What they have 6 wins, but you have to start to ingrain to this team about. This is about winning games. This is about. We have to have that mentality, and I think you saw that tonight. I mean, they're in a game that means nothing for them besides. Playing for pride, and playing, for spots on the roster for some of these players, next season, going into next season. Again, like I said some weeks ago, right now, we know Carson Wentz is going to be here. We know some of the other players certainly are going to be here. But it's about those other players, who deserves to still be on this team and who's mailing it in. And for the most part, I think most of these players, and look, we go into next season, not everyone's going to return, but I think a lot of these players are showing heart and passion, and it's good to see. I mean, it sucks to have a season like this. It really does. With the fact that they started 3-0, it's been a tough road after that, and maybe a lot of people, maybe myself included, got our hopes up after that 3-0 start. When really this was a rebuilding year. I mean, I called it a rebuilding year before the season started, and then they got off to a 3-0 start. You start to have, delusions of grandeur, as it were. And, then, they showed their, youth at times this season. They've showed their inexperience at times. And, it's a learning experience. You're going to go through a season. I don't disagree with it at all that they started Carson Wentz starting week 1, even though he's a rookie quarterback. I think this season is about him learning how to be a pro quarterback in the NFL, and he's done a lot of good. He's done some things that he's got to learn from. Mistakes are made. A lot of young quarterbacks are going to make mistakes, but you got to learn from them. And moving forward, I think this type of season, even though it's certainly one that is a tough year, a lot of losses, but at the same point, it's about learning, and it's about growing for Carson as a quarterback, and hopefully for Doug Peterson and the coaching staff, being the coaches of this team, because they're not going to go anywhere this offseason. Some people call up and say, oh, they should get rid of him. I've said this before, and I've said again, I don't want to keep going on this hamster wheel. I mean, how many years are we going to have to try to find the right the right coach after Chip Kelly? You got to give this guy at least another season and see what he's all about. If he's grown as a head coach in this league, I mean, winning in this league is tough. I mean, you see the teams that are winning right now; they've had some tough years. Even Dallas fans, as much as they don't like to admit it too often, they have had some down years. I mean, that team has not been in an NFC Championship game since the 90s, since the original triplets. They have not been in an NFC Championship game. And I know that they can throw rings at us and all this and that, but I can name on one hand, the amount of really great seasons that team has had since the 90s. So, teams go through it. There are struggles, and it is hard to build a winner. You have to have a lot of things in place, a lot of things go well in those seasons when you're doing, losing seasons. You have to build in the draft. You can't just do it in free agency. You have to hit in the draft. And my hope, and the hope of all of us, Eagle fans out there, is that they do that. I think they hit last offseason in the draft with Carson Wentz. We'll see about some of the other picks from last season going forward. Going into this offseason, the draft is here next spring, and you got to hit. I mean, you're not going to have a high first-round pick. You're going to have the Vikings' first-round pick. It's probably going to be about a mid-round, maybe, maybe a top 15, 16, 17 pick. But you got to hit on it, and then you got to hit in the other rounds. It's more important, more than ever in this draft coming up, that this team hits in the later rounds, because they're going to have more picks in those later rounds to try to hit on, and you have to. So it really comes down to the brain trust. It really comes down to the coaches and the scouts, to get it right. And this is going to be a couple seasons. I mean, This is going to be a rebuild for a few seasons, and you can't just correct everything this offseason with the draft and the free agency. You can start to, you can certainly add some pieces, and hope for sure they do, but you got to go through another season, another offseason, but you got to start laying the groundwork, and I think that's what some of these players have been doing. This month in December. I mean, they've been in every game. They had a chance to win the Redskins game and the Ravens game. Didn't happen. They've been close, but they've competed. And after that Bengals game those weeks ago, I honestly didn't know what we're going to be in for the rest of the season. I just didn't. I didn't know if this team was going to just fold up the tents and say, well, that's it. I certainly didn't think Carson Wentz was going to do that, but some of the other players on this team, you just never know. Some of them are going to be free agents. Some of them, the talent levels just aren't there. It's a losing season, coming off a losing season a year ago. How is this team going to react? And, well, they showed a lot of heart. And I think, they made the point, I heard on the radio earlier today, they made the point that, the year that Andy Reid's rookie year first year as a head coach, the Eagles were they were bad. They were, but they showed a lot of heart, and they showed some of the character and some of the talent that those Eagles teams going forward would be known for. In beating the Rams at the end of the season, who went on to win the Super Bowl that year. I think they beat the Patriots too. That season, towards the end of the season, when nothing really mattered besides just playing out the string, playing for pride, they won the last two games in the regular season. It kind of springboarded them into what they would become. And yes, they drafted Donovan McNabb, and that defense, of course, with Jim Johnson as the defensive coordinator and all those great players, they had the talent to do that. But they kind of harkened back to that first year with Andy Reid. At the end of the season, they won the last two games of the regular season, and then they went on to have a lot of success, going forward. And I don't know exactly if history will repeat itself if they do win next week against Dallas and win out the last, the two games of the season. Dallas now has nothing to play for. So for all those Dallas fans who were looking for Tony Romo, you might see him next week. So the Eagles could very well win that game, win the last two games, and you know what? Have at least something to build on going into next season. If anything else, this team is competing. And you know what? It seems kind of funny, saying that in like a 6-win season, what could be maybe a 7-win season. But this team has competed this month. At a time where, honestly, after the Bengals game, I didn't know if they would. And they proved me wrong. And they've been in these games. They could have even been 3-0 at this point in the month of December. And it's the close losses are tough. Today they got their first close win. of the season. But again, it shows some character. It shows heart. I mean, yes. I mean, they still need new corners. They still need more threats at wide receiver. They still need pieces. But I think some of the players on this team who are fighting, who are playing hard, like the offensive line, obviously Carson Wentz. I think that says a lot about the team, the way the defense is played. Getting the big turnovers there today. I think that says a lot about the team and some of the leaders on this team. Going forward into this offseason. I think that says a lot. Again, it sucks. Now 3 straight years without a postseason berth. And, there's still a lot of question marks about Doug Peterson. There's still a lot of question marks about this team. But it's not a complete team. And that's something we have to understand as a fan base. It takes time. Chip Kelly did a lot wrong here. So, there's a mess to clean up. And they started doing that, this offseason. Getting the franchise quarterback, getting some other players. And now you got to kind of, go from there forward this coming offseason and continue to, change the culture. Continue to get talent on this team. To get talent, obviously, for your franchise quarterback to throw the ball to. More than likely, most of the receivers will be back again next season. I don't know about DGB, but certainly, Aguilar, only because if you release him, like I said, it's too big a cap hit. Jordan Matthews obviously will be back. So you're still going to have some of these receivers that have kind of drove us nuts this season, but it's about getting guys around them. You know what? And maybe if you get better receivers, on this team, some of those receivers who kind of drove us nuts, well, maybe that raises their game a little bit. Maybe if you do get Deshaun Jackson this offseason, who I'd love to see back. I mean, I was a huge fan of him when he was here. I still got his jerseys. I'm ready for him to come back. Hopefully he does. But maybe another receiver too, like a Kenny Britt. I mean, I'd certainly take a flyer on him. He's had a good year with next to no one to throw him the ball. And maybe he's playing really well because it's a contract year. I don't know. Sometimes you got to take that into consideration. But he's had a solid year. He's a veteran. I think he's the type of player some of the other receiving corps can learn from going forward. But we'll see. We'll see what they do. I do hope they get at least 2 receivers this offseason. I think that's certainly a priority. And we'll see, how it all kind of plays out. Obviously, I don't have the crystal ball in front of me to know exactly what they're going to do, but that's what I would do. And there's obviously a lot more pieces, and they can't do it all in one offseason. So this is going to take a couple years, and it's one of those things that around here we've had to, be patient with these teams as they're all rebuilding. But, the benefits from that hopefully will come, in the next, in the coming years. We can still beat the Giants, though, so. Giants fans are feeling really good after they won that game earlier in the year, and they're probably, they're more than likely still going to be in the playoffs, but they're, they didn't clinch their ticket tonight in our stadium, and again, I think again that says a lot about the team too, because they didn't want the Giants to clinch it on their field. I mean, they had that kind of pride there, and you got to feel good about that. Going forward, it shows that kind of winner's mentality. That, this is our building. For the most part this season, they've played really well at home, and we're not going to let this team come in here and clinch a playoff spot in our home. We're not in the postseason, but we don't want them clinching. It's a division rival game. We don't want them clinching on our field, and I think that says a lot about this team and the direction that they're heading. I think we can all feel good about how Carson played tonight. He showed a lot of toughness out there. He made some plays. He kind of made some Houdini plays there. It was good to see. It was good to see. It was enjoying as an Eagles fan to watch this game, knowing fully well that my team yet again is not going to be in the postseason, but showing that fight, showing that character, showing that heart. And playing a hell of a game, winning a close game where they could have lost. We've seen them lose games like this season, so it was good to see them finally come out on top in a close one. And at least for 1 week, keeping the Giants out of the playoffs. The only down part is Dallas clinched the #1 seed, but we'll see. You know, the playoffs is a whole nother animal. So, you know, they better hope they're not going up against a team with a good defense, because, yeah, they still got some youth on that team. Their quarterback, the running back, you know, you never know in the playoffs. It's a whole nother season. So, you know, we'll see what happens there. But you know what? I'm happy at least the Eagles got a win. I mean, you can call it a Christmas miracle. The way things have gone this season, it is a couple days before Christmas, and the Eagles found a way to get a big win just before Christmas. I guess it was their Christmas gift to us for going through all this losing. So I thank them for that. You know, like I said, they played hard these last 3 games, and they probably should have had more than this one win to show for it. But I'll take it. You know, I'll take it, and hopefully they can beat Dallas on New Year's Day. Let's open 2017 on a good note. And, you know, go into the offseason. Hopefully they can keep building. I mean, that's all we can hope for right now, is that this team just finds ways to build, and to build this team so that we can have those great seasons yet again that we've been missing. And we've been missing them around here for a while. So, you know, if they can build this thing the right way, you know, we can be back in there and having some fun with some of these other fans have been experiencing. Anyhow, that's going to do it for me. Man, I made it. I actually did a Season of the Fans series video where I didn't go 30 minutes. I'm pretty proud about that. That's a Christmas miracle, too. But Eagles win, Eagles win. It's been a while since I've been able to say that. I'm happy to say that. They beat the Giants. All you Giant fans out there, you all probably thought you were going to win this game, didn't you? But you forget what team has given you the most agita over the year. So, not so fast, as they would say in the College Game Day show, right? So, first time in a long time I've been able to put those lights on. I don't know if you can see them, but there they are. They're turned on after the wins, and hopefully they showed up. I don't know if you guys could. There they are, right by the steps there. Turn those lights on after victories. Since I've been in this house, I've only been able to turn them on twice. So I'm hoping next season I can utilize those lights a little more. All right, everyone. You know what? Thanks for watching. I'm glad that people, other different fans too, have been enjoying these videos. Like I said, I mean, this is a series about being an Eagles fan and going through game after game, and all I can do is break it down the best I can. I'm not an expert. I don't profess to be. I'm not a member of the TTC. That just takes too much time, although I respect all the people who are in it. But I do try to do my best to, kind of bring you into, the man cave with me every week after a game, and kind of maybe sometimes lament about it, and sometimes just be happy like I am tonight to get a win. It's the little things. But I'm glad people enjoy my vids. I'm glad people enjoy this series. I'm going to keep bringing it to you every week during the football season, as long as the Eagles are there. And obviously the postseason, I can't really do that yet again this season, but hopefully next season I can. That's going to do it for me. Happy holidays, everyone. Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah. Happy Kwanzaa. Happy Festivus. Anything I'm forgetting in the holiday season. Happy New Year, of course, coming up in a week. My next video for this series will be in the new year, 2017. So look out for that. That will be coming up then. And, yeah, hey, we finally got a win. Feels good. Feels good, certainly. Even in a losing season, you know what, after a lot of losses in a row, it feels good to get a win. It really does. Just before Christmas, too. So that's even better. All right, everyone, go Birds. And I'll see you all New Year's Day 2017. Take care.